Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of Airway Mapping Made Easy, the video tutorial series where I share how to convert a CT thorax into a hand-drawn map for bronchoscopy. I'm Pip, an interventional pulmonologist from Woodlands Health, Singapore, and in today's video I will be taking you through an airway mapping of the left upper lobe. This case will also highlight my approach to nodules, which are eccentric on airway mapping, and how we can convert eccentric nodules to concentric nodules for better diagnostic yield. Please feel free to visit the other videos on my YouTube channel to review the concepts of airway mapping, and do like, share and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming video tutorials. Today's case is a 66-year-old gentleman, non-smoker, who was admitted for pneumonia 2 months back, and a follow-up CT thorax shows a persistent lung nodule which is 10 mm by 11 mm. Images of the CT are as shown. Please take some time to review the CT images and to identify the location of the nodule. To recap, this is our framework on the 5 steps to airway mapping. We will go through this together, step by step. The first step is to locate the lung segment in which the lesion is located. Take a moment to rewind the video if you need to review the CT scan and lock in your answer. Yes, it is in the left upper lobe, specifically in the LB1+2 segment. We can then go on to the second step, which is to find the appropriate CT reconstruction. Recall from our first video, our first concept is that all airways travel in one of 3 general directions: the cranial caudal, anterior posterior, or medial lateral directions. If the airway travels in the cranial caudal direction, as illustrated by the straw, using the axial view will help us to see it as a circle. Now we can see here that the left upper lobe already appears as a circle, as shown with my laser pointer, traveling in the cranial to caudal direction. Hence, we should use the axial CT to visualize it as holes. Now that we have located the nodule in the left upper lobe LB1+2 and decided to use the axial CT, we then need to proceed to steps 3 and 4, which is to orientate the CT image through flipping and/or rotation to align with the bronchoscopic view, and to match the direction of our CT scrolling to the expected movement of the bronchoscope. We will again get Teddy Bear to help us to visualize in 3D. The axial CT is on the left, and the teddy bear on the right is demonstrating the left upper lobe LB1+2 airways, which are as indicated by the laser pointer. During bronchoscopy, to enter the left upper lobe, we have to take a left turn at the carina before we then move in a cranial to caudal direction. Now, using a video of our bear to demonstrate, what we see is this. This means that our bear has to turn left, and we need to look at the straw from the bottom of the bear. Like so. This means that our orientation when we're looking at it from the bronchoscopic view is as such. During bronchoscopy, the teddy bear is positioned as shown. Recall that our bronchoscope will have to take a left turn before moving in the cranial to caudal direction. And hence, to mimic this, our CT scan will need to first turn to the right, or clockwise by 90 degrees. And the orientation of the CT scan will hence change as such. After which, the bronchoscope moves in a caudal to cranial direction. This means that our bronchoscopic view is actually from the bottom of the teddy bear, looking into the airways as such. In summary, for the left upper lobe LB1+2, we use the axial CT, rotate the CT image to the right or clockwise by 90 degrees, then scroll the CT in the caudal to cranial direction. We are now ready to draw our airway map. We are now ready to draw our airway map. We start at the takeoff of the left upper lobe and rotate the CT to the right, or 90 degrees clockwise. I will zoom in so that there is a better view. We scroll down to the takeoff of the left upper lobe, then we start scrolling in the caudal to cranial direction towards the nodule. From here, we will trace the airway, as indicated by the arrow pointer, backwards from the nodule into the left upper lobe. And we see that it comes from the LB1+2. Note that the airway does not lead into the nodule, but eccentrically to it. I will share my approach to converting eccentric to concentric lesions in the subsequent slides. We start by drawing the left upper lobe. Here we can see that it splits as such, and we draw the angles. Then we see that it will split in this direction, up and down, and we draw it as so. Following the top hole, we see that it splits left and right in this angle, and we draw it like this. Following the right hole, we see that it splits up and down at this angle, and we draw it like this. Now following the down hole, you may need to enlarge your screen to see this, but here we see that it splits again, up and down. Like so. And if we pay attention, we see that it runs eccentric to the top hole, which is somewhere here. Now it is important to note the relation of the nodule is just at the bottom aspect of this final hole. Using the coronal view, we can confirm that the airway runs eccentric to the nodule. We will now review the bronchoscopy images. When we enter the left upper division, we start by seeing the lingular segment below and the left upper lobe above. As we have only drawn the left upper lobe, we proceed first into the left upper lobe before following our airway map. The first branch, as expected, splits in the angle that we have drawn, and we go into the left hole. We can already see that it splits up and down as well, which is represented by our blue lines with the angles as shown, and we proceed into the up hole. We then know that it splits left and right, and we have to follow it into the right hole. And in the right hole, we know it splits up and down. Here, we are unable to push the P194mm scope any deeper, but we can just about make out the final division where it splits up and down over here. And we know that we have to place our radial mini probe into this hole, and that we will expect to find an eccentric image as seen on the radial when it contacts the inferior aspect of this hole. During bronchoscopy, I also interrogated the lower hole to confirm that no radial image is to be obtained. Once our radial is in position, we know that if we push the lever of the bronchoscope upwards, which is in the thumb up position, the bronchoscope will extend downwards and press against this inferior wall so that the radial probe will be in contact with it, and we will find the image of the nodule, which is eccentric as shown. Now we know from multiple studies that eccentric nodules tend to have lower diagnostic use compared to concentric nodules. What can we do to overcome this problem? Well, we can use a PeriView Flex TBNA needle to needle this location to create a track into the nodule. Here you can see the radial on fluoroscopy producing an eccentric image. You can see that I have extended the bronchoscope such that we'll be able to make passes into the inferior aspect of the airway wall. And after 3 passes, we have created a track through which we can repeat our radial EBUS, and that produces a concentric image. And this signifies that we have successfully converted an eccentric nodule into a concentric nodule, through which we can carry out our biopsies. We can ascertain that we have entered the nodule by looking at the CT image and comparing it to our expected radial EBUS image. It may help you to invert the CT image. Here you can see the shape of the nodule, having this little pointy ends here, corresponds to the shape which we have obtained on radial EBUS. We then proceed to introduce our biopsy forceps into the lesion, and we take multiple biopsies. The patient was diagnosed with TTF1 positive non-small cell lung adenocarcinoma. Systematic mediastinal staging was done with EBUS, which showed enlarged station 7 subcarinal lymph nodes, which were biopsied and were negative for malignancy. He is currently awaiting further staging scans and tumor board discussion on curative resection. Thank you very much for joining me on today's tutorial of airway mapping on the left upper lobe. In future episodes, we will be attempting more complex branching patterns. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. Do message me if you have any comments, queries, or suggestions for future videos. Please do like, share, and subscribe to my video tutorial series so that you won't miss out on another episode of Airway Mapping Made Easy. Thank you.